A very good evening to all of you, and welcome to the webinar hosted by Pune Inclusive Education Society PIES. Before we begin the discussion for today's topic, I would like to give a brief introduction about PIES and its work. PIES is a charitable trust and a society registered under Bombay Public Trust Act 1950 and Societies Act 1860, functional in the field of learning disabilities and early childhood education since May 2016. It is conceptualized by experts in the educational field. The need of imparting life skills triggered the idea of creating an institution that imparts capabilities for building a successful future of students. The management of our institution consists of academics from schooling to higher education background. We aim at imbibing the budding citizens the culture of learning and independence. We have established a reputation of guiding students towards successful life and career with compassion and honesty. The foundations that we build are everlasting and have stood the test of time. It is our humble endeavor in contributing to the nation building by creating happy, self sufficient, and successful citizens. Today's webinar is yet another attempt to continue our work during lockdown on the e platform. The speaker for today's webinar is Ms. Sheetal Ghadge, who is a Director Academics of PIES. Before starting the webinar, I would like to give a brief introduction of her. She is a rehabilitation psychologist registered with Rehabilitation Council of India. She has a master's degree with specialization in clinical psychology from SNDT Women's University. She has 15 plus years of experience in the field of learning disabilities in terms of identification, diagnosis, and intervention. Started her career with one renowned NGO, Laura Morris Foundation in Pune, which has pioneered the work of providing remedial intervention on learning disabilities. Owing to her passion and skill, she was entrusted the responsibility of being a training manager. She has been applauded by academicians, teachers, and parents for her expert and versatile training skills. Has trained more than 2,000 teachers from all over India. Has conducted and organized orientation and training programs on specific learning disabilities in more than 50 private and government institutions. Parents and students love her for making a difference in their lives, and with her precise, planned, and research based remedial inputs, she has a natural flair of writing, has authored research articles in renowned journals, and contributed to a book, Overcoming Learning Disorders, written by Dr. Anjali Morris and Brigadier Sarkar. She has penned down few poems in Hindi and Marathi, and with her experience and unique skills, she has created and evolved informal assessment tools to identify learning disabilities in vernacular medium school, that is Marathi medium schools, and is involved in pro bono educational services for the needy. Welcome, Cheetal, for today's webinar. So the COVID-19 has incorporated all of us into a new reality. Workplaces are closed, social distancing is a new norm, and kitchen and dining tables have replaced the classrooms. The sudden shift from person to online learning has not been very easy for all of us, including parents, children, and we the teachers. And for some children, these virtual classes are even more difficult to take in as they fail to understand the instructions given virtually. They may lack organizational skills and executive functions. They rely on a multisensory approach of teaching. We as parents or teachers might wonder why the kids are not able to grasp the basic skills of online academics. Let us try to explore and find out the reasons from our today's speaker. Our discussion broadly will deal with three aspects. That is, what are various types of learning disabilities, a bird's eye view, peculiar problems faced by learning disabled students during lockdown vis-a-vis normal situation, a comparison, and third one is how to manage learning disabilities during lockdown, some strategies. So, Sheetal, welcome. And the first question, can you give us a basic overview of the concept of learning disability and what does it mean and what is it generally confused with? So, I know we have certain remedial teachers and special educators with us today, and they are well versed with the concept of learning disability. But then we also have an audience who's not very well versed with this concept. So, we request you to just throw a brief light on it.
Yeah, sure, Swati. Thank you so much for the nice introduction. And I welcome all the participants and the audience over here. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Yeah, so moving ahead with our session, today I would like to just brief you about the definition of learning disabilities. There may be an issue in one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understanding, or in using language which can be spoken or written, which may manifest itself in an ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or to do the mathematical operations, which can be also known as specific learning disabilities, SLD. Now, all sorts of learning disabilities are included in this term, if you see. The term may indicate perceptual handicapness, brain injury, minimal dysfunction, brain dysfunction, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. Now, let me just brief you about these three terms. Dyslexia is basically a reading disability. Dysgraphia, as the name itself says, it is related to the writing. Dyscalculia, that these children have difficulties when it comes to the solving mathematical sums. Yeah, but it does not include such children who have learning problems just because of some extraneous factors such as visual or hearing impairment, motor handicapness, or any kind of intellectual disabilities or of emotional disturbances. Nor does it include handicapness caused by environmental disadvantages, environmental that can be physical or social or both. Now, let it be very clear over here that when we are talking about the children with specific learning disabilities, we are not talking about the kids who are underachieving or who are not performing well in the academics due to hearing, vision, or any kind of other intellectual disabilities. Okay, we are talking about the children over here, those who are having average and sometimes above average intelligence level, but just because of that learning style is different as compared to the normal ones, they lag behind. So we are not talking about the children who are falling under the category of intellectual disabilities. Now, when a child fails to achieve learning to the level appropriate to his age and ability in one or more of the fields, even when appropriate learning experience is provided, even when you're going to provide the equal opportunities or appropriate opportunities to the schooling or education, it would be a case of learning disability. Now, in spite of providing proper opportunities and learning experiences, if you feel that your child is still not performing well, then you can say that that might be a case of learning disability. I'm again underlining word is over here is might be, because we are yet to come to the conclusion.
Okay, Sheetal. So that was really very brief introduction, and I'm sure you will be discussing this in your training program in detail. Now, I have a next question for you. Are there any specific problems or barriers that the learning disabled children face during lockdown? Can you just highlight them?
Yeah. Swati, since March, I think we have suddenly shifted ourselves online. Now, here, whether it is work from home or for the corporates or the educational technology platforms provided for the children, a lot of our activities are now done virtually. We have gone online. Now, this has its benefits, such as we have the comfort of working from home. There is no time consumption when it comes to the traveling, increased productivity, which is also equally important, having safety in the environment. However, it can be assumed that it is not equally accessible to the children with special needs, CWSN, that goes to special children with special needs. Some of my parents got anxious when they have heard about school is offering the online mode education. Now they are finding it difficult to cope with the sudden shift going online. So some of the parents of children with hearing, speech, and intellectual disabilities, they mentioned that they are having a hard time helping their kids with the assignments and activities given at home in the absence of special educators and counselor. Now, parents of CWSM, that is children with special needs, they have the peculiar problems. Now, since the schools are unable to accommodate them, e-learning has shifted the entire burden of education on the child and its parent. Now, talking about children with learning disabilities, since these children, they have a lot of problems when it comes to the following multiple instructions given at a time. They are unable to take the instructions given virtually. Now, suppose if the teacher is there in front of them, physically she is talking about any thing, I mean, she's giving the instructions, it is still very much easier for them to take in the instructions. But when just think about the online learning or virtual learning, wherein the teacher is not there, even if she wants to come, she'll just peep in between. because the videos are off. So these children are feeling a little bit left out also. So they have problems in organizing on the page also. Now suppose if the teacher is giving instruction that kids, you're supposed to take out page number 15, so children with learning disabilities might take it as page number 51. So this is a kind of we can say classic characteristics of these children, which may can hinder their learning, virtual learning. Now, so we were talking about the organization on the page. So they fail to spot the exact content on the textbook. They are finding it difficult, though the parents are sitting along with them. But sometimes the parents also even don't know how to help in certain situations. They have hard time copying down from the screen to the notebook because immediate change of a surface comes in between. They are taking time to finish their work also. They might be having different learning style which may not be fulfilling just by a virtual learning, because it just gives you the audio and visual mode of sense teaching and learning. They may get tired quickly as compared to the normal ones, because their brain needs to take more efforts as compared to the normals to perform on the given task. Now, every child with special need has an individualized education plan, specially made for them, which can be known as a tailor-made plan or customized plan, considering their limitations and weaknesses. But following these plans may not be possible by the teachers in the online classes, because again, we are talking about the practical difficulties faced by the teachers, because I think it is a class of, at a time, I think 60 to 55 to 60 children are joining her virtually. So it is not possible for her to take care of each and every child, and then if it comes to the our child with learning disability, it is still impossible. Uh, so uh, uh, the following these plans may not be possible for her, just like I mentioned about it. In the case of many autistic children, or maybe we can say a child with autism and the children with ADHD, that is attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, it is very difficult to make them sit in front of the laptop for an extended time period continuously. It is very, very, very challenging for them as well as for the parents also. Making them listen and learn is an almost impossible task. Now, parents have to play a role of a teacher and therapist both over here while they work from home. Now, to put in point form, some of the barriers that are that Swati has asked me to mention about or brief about it are created for the children with learning disabilities in the e-learning modes, such as, firstly, inadequate or no training to the teachers to cater to the learning disabled students. I am not talking about the incapability of the teachers over here, but I am talking about the limitations when it comes to the virtual learning. So they are not well equipped to deal with the virtual learning. Secondly, a survey by OECD says, that is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that on an average, 40% of teachers in OECD country lack professional ICT skills. They are not prepared to teach online in general and not prepared to teach online to the children with special disabilities. Now, if they are not capable enough to teach the normal ones also via this online mode, then forget about the children with special needs. Third one, that learning is very costly, very expensive for the children with learning disability. Not with only with the children with learning disability, but it is for all CWS and children, as they require additional resources as compared to the normal students, which includes internet equipments, specially designed material, etc., and the other support. Lastly, lockdown has led to loss of access to the school breakfast and lunch breaks. Common play area, this is what the right now the nowadays the children are missing, the school grounds, which are very, very, very important for their overall development and the learning process to go on smoothly.
Right. Yes. Um, Thank you, Sheetal, for explaining that very precisely. Now, these problems that you have identified, I believe they have to be tackled not just at one level. They have to be tackled at different multiple levels. So they have to be tackled at the policy level. They have to be tackled at the level of the management, the school, the teachers, the parents. And so, of course, there has to be a holistic view. And I'm sure today's webinar we may not be able to discuss all these approaches or all the levels. Let's just look at us one aspect, a few aspects of it. That is, could you just tell us how the parents, teachers, or remedial counselors, how they should tackle these issues, or how should they overcome
Overcome
these
these barriers
barriers that
that
you
are
specified?
specified. Yeah. So, Swati, to answer this question, I think basically the same strategies of intervention that we use have to be applied, but with a different orientation when we go online. Let me present to you the comparative table of the strategies that we need to follow for management of children with learning disabilities in normal scenario, and what changes we need to adapt peculiar to the lockdown scenario. Now, here we go. If you see, I have tried to put it down into the tabular form. Uh, Suppose the problem. Let's talk about the problem or issues with the children with learning disabilities when it comes to the classroom setup and when it comes to the during the lockdown scenario. Now, if our child is not able to understand the instructions, now when we are talking about the classroom setup, in classroom the children with learning disabilities, they could not match up with the speed of a teacher or with their classmates. They may have the problems when it comes to taking the instructions, multiple instructions, because when it comes to the physical contact of a teacher, for example, the teacher is there to help them, but now when they go online, that is during the lockdown scenario, online classrooms are creating an additional barrier or burden of accessing the online system or technology over and above the regular barrier of understanding the instructions, because these children, they need multiple instructions, not given at a time, but if you chunk them and if you just split them together, they can take it, which is not possible when it comes to the online classes, because teacher has to just handle all the children, not only the children with learning disabilities. So it is impossible for her also to cater the individual need of these children. Moving ahead with the next issue, that is these children, they they need the multisensory approach of teaching and learning. And now just quickly brief me about let me brief you about multisensory approach. Multisensory approach is the approach which we incorporate when we deal with the children with learning disabilities or CWSN children, wherein you're supposed to make use of all your senses when you teach. Now, this is also called as VAKT approach, wherein V stands for visual mode of sensory mode, A stands for auditory, K stands for kinesthetic, and T for stands for tactile mode of learning. Now, it is very much needed to be used for teaching the children with learning disabilities. For example, during a task, these kids, they seek constant approval or the constant assurance from a teacher, since it gives them a feel of self confidence, because they, every time they seek or they look for the appreciation to their teacher, that teacher must say for any kind of good performance, teacher should say very good, oh you have done a nice, well done, all those kind of thing. But when it comes to the virtual learning, I think it is very difficult for the teacher to appreciate or give approval to each and every child. I think every teacher, since we are talking about the individual differences, some of the teachers are really very creative when it comes to giving the approval or giving the appreciation. They do their own ways of appreciating the children, but sometimes our children with learning disabilities, they feel left out because there is no approval from the teacher. So virtual classes can address only few sensory modalities of TLP, that is a teaching learning process, which creates limitations in addressing rest of the sensory mode. So it's more of a visual and auditory. And wherein our learning disability, the children of learning disability, they require multi senses to be used when they learn or when you're teaching anything. Going ahead with the adaptations. Now, LD children or the children with learning disabilities, they can learn better through adaptations of two types, accommodations and or modifications. Now, let me just brief you about accommodations and modification. There is a thin line between these two concepts. Accommodations can help kids learn the same material as their peers are learning. This allows them to meet the same expectation. For example, a student with dyslexia who is having problem when it comes to the reading, he might listen to an audio version of a book instead of reading it out the way normal children are doing. He's listening it auditory version, but it's still the same material. The literature is same, the book is same, that the rest of the class is reading. Now, kids who are far behind their peers may need changes to the curriculum they are learning. These are called modifications. So, accommodations are wherein material doesn't get changed. You are supposed to just accommodate your child, considering his limitations and positive and weaknesses. But when it comes to the modification, you're supposed to do certain changes, just alter your curriculum as compared to the child's need. So again, it is a need-based modification, wherein a student could be assigned shorter or easier reading assignments or homework that's different from the rest of the class. And kids who receive modifications are not expected to learn the same material as their classmates are doing. Okay, so for them, you're supposed to completely modify the curriculum. Now, when we are talking about the lockdown scenario, these adaptations in online mode during lockdown period are difficult, but not impossible. The problem is that we need a trained teacher to deliver online and trained parent also to support at home and implement these adaptations practically. But it is not impossible. Social and behavioral aspect. Now, when it comes to the classroom setup, we know that the children with learning disabilities, they may lack social skills and peculiar behavioral issues of temperament, emotional burst out, etc. And when they come into the home setup, that is during the lockdown, these issues may get aggravated, and parents may not be equipped to deal with their temper tantrums the way a trained teacher or a special educator or a counselor can do. This adds to the frustration to the parents also. Yeah, I think I've covered.
So, Sheetal, what are your suggestions? Like now that you have identified these problems really well, can you just tell us like what are your suggestions to quickly to the parents and the educators as to how they can overcome these barriers and manage the learning disabilities during the lockdown?
Yeah. Uh, Let me again chalk down my solutions according to the problems. The teacher delivering online classes needs to be trained, as we are talking about, in organizing the delivery in small chunks. Also, she should use various online tools to match with the receptivity of the child. Simultaneously, the parents needs to be trained in supporting the child during the virtual classes. Now when and it happens in the regular remedial teaching also. Now suppose if the child is coming to me at my center for the remedial classes, I ask the parents to come inside the classroom and sit over there. Whatever I am dealing with the kid, whatever strategies I'm using, they should also use the same strategies. So the parent training is also very much important over here. Now, the teacher or the special educator shall try to bring in a multi-sensory approach by creating activities which the child can execute at home, of course, with the help of a parent. Such activities shall appeal all sensory needs. So the very general and small activities can be making a sandwich in a particular way, following the sequential steps of this particular recipe, which the child shall execute, and the parent shall just note the observations and convey it to the teachers. The thing is that this note should be structured and given well in advance to the parents. This will give the reassurance that the child expects generally. Now, this is something because nowadays the mummies are trying a lot of recipes at home, so they can also get help or they can also get engaged these children also along with them. But one silver lining to the black cloud of the lockdown is that the adaptation may be easier in virtual mode, right? Because provided there is a proper training to the teacher and the parents. For example, you can just make a use of Microsoft Word's tool for magnifying the font or the sentence that can be used, creating assignments in the form of a quiz with Google Forms, which makes the drop-down menu easier to choose the correct answer, because our institute is also offering the online remedial teaching, wherein we try to make use of all these Microsoft Word tools. Moving ahead with the social and behavioral issues, how to tackle with those. Now, the first thing, everywhere you must have heard about, everyone is talking about creating a routine or structurizing the routine for these children. So it is not only for the children with learning disabilities, but I think it goes for every child. It goes for everyone. It's a normal thing for a lack of routine and structure to make children feel anxious and upset, especially if they have special educational needs and disabilities. Now, if your child is no longer going to school, creating a routine is very important, and there are ways you can do this. You can put up a daily routine chart into the room. You can offer the rewards if kids are following the structure. So you can use your own ways and your creativity when it comes to the charting down or routinizing the things. Now, sometimes children, they are very lazy. I'm not saying lazy, but they don't want to follow the things written on the board. So in such situations, you can just have your activity jar which is created. You can take any kind of plastic utensil, any kind of jar wherein you just put the chits written on it. They should be filled with a task. For example, a small task you can allot them. For example, gardening, then watering the plant, helping a mother to put up a cupboard in a proper way. So you can just ask, or you can just allot these small activities, write it down on the sheet, mix them well, and ask the children to just take out any chit out of the jar, and they should read out their task. And if they are not comfortable doing that particular task, they should have the flexibility that they can change or replace it with by some other task. Because our goal over here is not to ask them do their work, but our goal is to just ask them routinizing themselves, or just to ask them to get routinized. Now you can put up a daily routine chart. As I said, you can make use of a lot of visuals are right now available online also. Next thing, helping them to be in touch with their friends. Now, all of us, we know that friendship helps all of us, not only the children, to keep us as strong, resilient, happy, and relaxed as possible. Now, having the online companionship of friends provide the support they need in lockdown, and they will be important. It is very important too when they return to a strange and unsettling new school environment after the lockdown. After the lockdown is going to get end. Now, here I'm not only talking about asking your child, or just asking them to share their thoughts and emotions on video calls via WhatsApp, FaceTime, or even on Zoom, because not all children can be comfortable talking online. Okay, it happens with all our younger ones. You must have observed that if they have got any birthday gift from someone, and if you're because nowadays it is impossible to go and meet the people, so many a times it is online. So you're asking your child that I'll put on the video, just say thank you to that auntie, or say thank you to the friend, and they get hesitant over there because they are not feeling comfortable when it comes to the online communication. So I feel that it should be less verbal, and sometimes it should be more visual also. So instead of calling friends just for chat, try giving your child and the friends along with him the activities to share over a video call, such as treasure hunt. Give each child an illustrated list of simple things wherein you put on some questions like taking off a fork, or something which is sharp, or take out some yellow things which you can see around you, a book with a picture of an animal on the cover, or whatever. So your child is also likely to bond better with smaller groups. Okay, say two or four. So it should not be more than more than four children at a time when you're going to have these activities, as they are less likely to talk over each other and end up with nobody knowing what's going on. So I think let it be that if you are going to restrict the group, a small group, or maybe you can just yeah, but it is very important that trying activities is necessary, but it should not happen one way. I mean, it should not be a monotonous process, because many times I have seen that parents, if they are engaged into their own work, what do? They just give a proper whatever the worksheet, or they give a kind of coloring sheet or something like that to the child, and they ask that sit over there in the corner and do it on your own. So over here, I think we go wrong, because they need your approval. They need your company when they do any kind of activity, which is right now they are missing, or they are not getting in the school because the peers are there. So in such cases, because we know that during this pandemic, we are so worried and we don't know when and how the things will get changed. So this uncertainty is a huge challenge, and it can lead to more anxiety. So kids' whole routine is getting disturbed, which we need to understand. They cannot go out and play with their friends. Even their friends cannot come over. So this is an imbalance for them, which is creating the anxiety. So which they perhaps cannot explain it to you, because many times I have seen that children, if they are coming to you, if they are in some different mood, and then they ask why we are sitting at home, why you are not attending your office, why I'm not going to the school. So very abruptly, I have seen the parents, they answer, "Mujhe pata nahi." So see, over here you are leaving your child in half, because he is not you are not fulfilling the proper need of your child, because he might be asking you for some other to in order to get some other answer, but you are passing out all your negativity, because I don't know when the lockdown is going to get open. I think in this situation, what you are going to do is your child might be behaving differently because they are feeling anxious about the things changing. So, whatever positive thinking is there, you should just talk to your child, try to find out their feelings, and then accordingly, you can help them to express their own feelings. Now, for doing this, now before you give any kind of activity, maybe it is solving a puzzle, maybe it is doing some other task, make sure that your child is getting calm. Okay, because calming down activities, we keep on hearing about the calming down activities wherein you talk about the breathing exercises and all, but let me tell, though it seems that these activities are very simple activities, but yeah, they do have some logic. Now here comes a first activity as calming down activity, that is coloring. Now I keep on talking about the mandala art. It's basically mandala. It is a Sanskrit word wherein mandal means vartul, a circular geometrical shape. It is this process of creating round, symmetrical images that is beneficial from a healing perspective. The spiritual circle will help promote mindfulness, and it is best activity for the attention and to focus or to concentrate, which promotes the healing also. Now, if you just Google and find it out about this mandala art, they have lot of activities as per the grade. I mean, they have given it according to the age. Now, if you're seeking activities for the 2.5 years old to 4.5 years pre-primary age children, so you'll be getting it according to their comfort level, and the difficulty level gets on increasing. This is not. This should not be mixed with the scribbling. Okay, this is not a scribbling. Let me clear it over here. It is a kind of circular movement which you're supposed to. There is a proper pattern, sequential pattern which is supposed to be followed. Next thing is deep breathing. Now over here, if your teenager is there or the children who are a little bit matured, for them you can ask them to deep breathe in and breathe out. But our tiny tots, the younger ones, they are not going to understand these concepts. So I have incorporated this in my remedial teaching also, which is called a cushion breathing. It gives a feeling of, it gives a nice feel of soothing also, because the children are very anxious. Sometimes they throw temper tantrum, they are very angry, they are not in a mode of listening anyone. So what you're supposed to do in this cushion breathing, put something furry or a kind of soft toy on a tummy of your kid, let them feel their breathing. As they breathe, the soft toy also moves up and down, and they feel it's funny because they can feel and monitor their own breathing, and they also understand that yes, our breathing goes in a specific rhythm, so they get to know about this will help to monitor their own breathing too. And that's why when we are talking about the anger management technique, one of them is counting 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 in a reverse order, just because we are giving little bit pause or time to our brain. In a same with the same logic, this activity is also incorporated. Now, throwing a temper tantrum, that is the biggest behavioral issue with all the children, I think. Now, if they are coming to you with anger tantrum, just don't slap them abruptly. Instead of that, talk to them, try to acknowledge their feelings. They might not be giving knowing that this particular feeling is called anger, or this particular feeling is called uh, something different, because they just know that I didn't like this particular thing, and I'm showing my I'm throwing my reflections. So try to just help them to give a name to their feeling, which is very important. Sharing a hug and then encouraging them to do the further activities. That is very much important. Now, there's a very simple game which is called as Simon Says or I Spy activities. Now, before we move ahead with any kind of activities, just like I was talking about deep breathing, the grounding techniques, like, because our children are supposed to be grounded before they move ahead to any kind of activities, because this again I'm saying this situation is not very certain things are certain, because we don't know, we are not sure what is going to happen next. So in such situations, everyone needs to be grounded, even our children. So asking kids to find out 5 things around them which they can see, 5 things around them which they can feel, 5 things they can collect, which they can hear, smell, taste. So wherein you're going to incorporate all the senses. So that's why we are talking about the multisensory approach. Now, children are watching you. Don't forget that. How you all behave, they observe. Give them a sense of love. Don't pass on your anxieties to them. Don't think about the things which are not alterable, because see, we can't change few things. Though there are options, we can alter some things, but there are certain things which you can't, because they are out of your control. And this COVID-19 is such a situation. So how are we as parents dealing with anxieties? How we are thinking positively matters a lot. Now, just briefing you about the online time, because I have heard from some of my parents that, ma'am, during lockdown, his online or screen time has been increased. Now, forget about the online teaching, because the school classes are also going on. But after those school classes, also, still some children are stick with the gadgets. Now, here, I think parents should put up a timetable for the use of those gadgets. Here, the parents should know that there is a proper time given according to the age. So, it is being said that if you're having a kid under this age group, 2 to 4 years, his screen time should be only 1 hour, not more than that. So the parent and the special educators can use their creative ideas to put that screen time in 1 hour. Okay, you can use your own ways and methods to do it, so that your child won't sit with a gadget after 1 hour if he's falling under this age group. Now, if your child is 6 to 7 years old, the screen time should not be more than 2.5 hours. If it is 10 to 10 years old child, then it should be 3.5 hours. If it is 11 to 13 years of age group, then it should be 5 hours, and 14 to 16 years age group, 5 hours. So I think, because see, you are not going to take out these gadgets very abruptly from your children, because it is going to again create some different issue. Okay, so how we are going to do it? We are going to systematically fade out these things. Okay, this is called, in a psychological language, this is called a systematic desensitization. You are not going to abruptly take it out one day, and you're going to say you're not going to touch this, because it will again create more issues. Okay, they'll again start throwing a temper tantrum. So what you're going to do, instead of that, you're going to slowly, you can work it out with the time itself. Instead of talking about 1 hour, you can give 1 hour. After that, you're going to slowly take it out from them. Now, the last and very important thing is, if you feel that though these teaching strategies and methods are going to help my child, but I'm not having that much understanding how to help my child. I lack in those things, or maybe I don't have that much time. So, what you are going to do is, because see, I'm sure that parents, before listening all these things, I think you have, and you are trying to incorporate some of these strategies with your children during this lockdown. That doesn't mean that you are not capable enough to do it, but many times it happens that even if it is a single toy, a plastic block, the way you as a parent look at that toy is going to differ the way special educator and a counselor will look at that toy. Okay, for me, piling up or making a tower of that those plastic blocks may not be just creating the build ups or creating the structures. For me, it will be more of a eye hand coordination, sequential learning. Okay, logical thinking. So for me, it is totally different. So for this, I think, if you are feeling that I'm not able to provide proper help to my kid, you can anytime ask for a help. You may seek experts guidance for remedial centers, then remedial teachers, if your school counselors are there to help you. But for this, I think the parents, they should have a proper rapport with the school authorities, especially if they are having the children with these kind of special needs. These remedial centers may have online tools also, just like our institute is having, or the equipments to give remedial inputs. So what are these centers will help you in? They can help you to assess the accommodations required by the kid. They can help you to modify the curriculum according to the instructions or the according to the need of a child. So it will be again a need-based plan. Implementing the project-based learning. They will help you to ensure the individual education plan, how it goes. They will help you, or they will provide you all sort of technical support, and not only you but the family and the caregivers.
Uh, Thank you, Sheetal, for giving a very brief overview again of the things that we as parents, as educators, and as counselors can do. And I hope our participants use few of these, try few of these techniques, and I'm sure they are going to overcome learning disabilities if at all their child or people around have been facing difficulties in during lockdown. And so with this, friends, we come to the end of today's webinar. Whatever things we have discussed, they were just brief cursors of the things that you have learned today or that you've been told today. We are going to be hosting a training session, a training program, a detailed training program, where the counselors or the teachers, they may participate. And in the participation, we are going to give them hands-on tools, and we are going to teach them hands-on in workshop mode as to how different tools can be used and how they can be tested and how they can be applied in making changes in their remedial inputs to the learning disabled students. We will be getting in connection with you. We'll be sending emails on your registered email IDs. And we do look forward for you to participate in those training programs. I hope you will be able to make your learning more fruitful with these tools that we are going to discuss in the training program and the concepts that we are going to discuss during that time. With this, I take this opportunity to thank you all for participating in this webinar and for your patience of holding the technical glitches. Uh, we are going to share this recording with all of you and hope to see you next time again. And we will definitely sort out the technical issues that we faced this time about people logging in and people trying to access the webinar. So have a nice evening. Stay home, stay safe, and keep learning. Thank you all.
Thank you.